dive into this. Prophecy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, right? Always been around.
Yeah.
In every culture. Prophecy. A deep dive into history, science, and impact by Conrad Reich. That's what we're looking at. And it's crazy how this idea of like knowing the future, it's just always fascinated people.
Right. Well, and the thing about prophecy is it's not even just about predicting the future. It's like how we understand what's happening right now. And even how we look back at the past.
Yeah.
It's like this, almost like this mirror,
Yeah.
to all our hopes and fears and trying to find meaning in a world that's kind of crazy sometimes.
And Riker, he just throws us right in with ancient civilization. Like back then, prophecy wasn't just some fun thing. It was like a big deal in their decision.
Oh, yeah, huge.
Yeah, huge.
Think about ancient Greece. The oracles, they were like direct lines to the god. And what they said, it affected
For sure.
from politics to just everyday life. It makes you think,
Yeah.
Did they feel empowered by that? Or were they kind of freaked out? Having that connection.
Oh, totally. Like burdened.
Yeah, burdened by faith.
It's like that story, King Croesus.
Yeah.
He went to the oracle at Delphi, right?
Yeah.
Before fighting the Persian. And the oracle, she's all cryptic. A great empire will be destroyed, she says.
Classic oracle. Vague.
Yeah. So Croesus, he thinks he's going to win. But guess what? His own kingdom gets destroyed.
Oof, yeah, that's a tough lesson.
His miscalculation.
About misinterpreting prophecies, for sure. And it makes you think, like, how much of prophecy is really predicting the future versus, influencing what happened?
Okay, so the Greeks, they were all about those oracles. What was it like in other places, ancient world?
Well, in the Middle East, prophecy, it was more personal, I guess you could say. Think of like Joseph in the Bible. He had these visions and dreams, divine revelation.
Right.
But it wasn't just vague stuff. It was instruction, like directly shaping his life and everyone around him. It was less about going to some external source for answers and more about this direct connection with the divine.
Right. So it's interesting, right? Greeks going outward, individuals getting that inner revelation.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes you wonder about, like, how people always wanted to connect to something bigger.
Absolutely. And it just shows how prophecy, it's had so many different forms. There are all sorts of purposes throughout history. It's not just one thing. It's like this with all these different cultural threads woven in.
Okay, so we've got all these ancient civilizations obsessed with prophecy. But let's be real. Is there any science to back it up? Like, has anyone ever actually proven it's real?
That's the million-dollar question. Science hasn't really proven or disproven prophecy, but there's some really cool research out there on why people believe in it and the psychology and even the neurology.
Okay, so break it down for me. What's the science behind all this?
So one big thing is pareidolia. It's how our brains, they love finding patterns, even when there aren't any.
Okay.
Like, seeing faces in clouds or hearing messages in songs played backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Our minds, they're always trying to connect the dots, even when there's no picture to be made.
I totally see animals in my toast all the time. Does that make me a modern-day oracle?
Probably not. But it shows how we're wired
Right.
to make sense of everything around us. Sometimes we see meaning where there isn't any.
So that's pareidolia.
Yeah.
But what about those people who have, like, prophetic dreams or vision? Is there anything to that? Or are they just, imagining things?
That's where it gets even more interesting.
Yeah.
So research actually suggests that when your brain's in a different state, like from brain damage or fever, sleep deprivation, or even some drugs, it can create these hallucinations that feel totally real. And they feel prophetic. They're so intense, It's easy to see why someone would think they're seeing the future.
So you're saying it's not really prophecy, it's our brains, like, misfiring. But it feels significant.
It's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah.
And it shows why critical thinking is so important. Just because you dream something and then something similar happens doesn't mean the dream was prophetic.
Right.
Could just be a coincidence.
Sure.
Or, our tendency to only remember things that fit what we already believe.
Yeah. Confirmation bias. We love focusing on the hits, not the misses.
Especially with something as, like, compelling as prophecy.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
And then there's the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people think they know way more than they do about something.
Okay.
This could be huge with prophecy, right?
Yeah.
People thinking they have this special gift when they're really just misinterpreting things or remembering selectively.
So we've got psychology, neurology. What about religion? Prophecy is a big deal in a lot of faiths.
It's true. It's central to so many belief systems. Like, in Christianity, prophecies in the Bible, they're seen as proof that it's divinely inspired, from the birth of Jesus to, predictions about the end times.
So for them, it's proof that the Bible's the real deal.
Right. And they use it to understand the world, their place in it.
Okay. What about Islam?
Well, in Islam, prophets are super important. They believe Muhammad is the final prophet.
Okay.
And his revelations are the foundation of everything.
It's fascinating how prophecy, it's like woven right into these religions.
It really is. And it shapes their beliefs and practices.
Totally. And it's not just predicting the future, right? It's like guidance, interpreting history,
Yeah.
understanding our relationship with something bigger.
Finding meaning, purpose in this grand narrative.
Riker mentions Judaism and Buddhism too. What about them?
So in Judaism, you've got figures like Moses and Isaiah revered for delivering those divine messages.
Yeah.
But it's not just about what's going to happen, it's about interpreting the past and guiding what we do now. And Buddhism, the Buddha himself, is seen as a prophetic figure, emphasizing that cyclical nature of time
Right.
and how important it is to reach enlightenment.
It's amazing how these ancient prophecies, they still resonate with people today,
They do.
even if they're not religious.
Yeah. And it goes beyond religion, too. Think about the whole prophecy industry.
Right, psychic hotline. Horoscopes, those books and movies, it's huge.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, though, is it all just a money grab, or are people looking for something deeper?
That's a good question. It's complicated, no easy answers.
Right.
It's a big industry for sure, but I don't think it's fair to just call it all fake. Some people, they really are looking for guidance, for comfort.
Yeah.
Others might just be curious or want entertainment.
Sure.
The ethical stuff comes in when they take advantage of vulnerable people or make claims that are just flat out wrong.
Yeah. Riker uses that example of Miss Cleo,
Oh, yeah.
a psychic hotline, super popular back in the day.
Right. Her whole persona, her slogans, they worked on people.
Yeah.
Millions called in. But whether her predictions were accurate, that's another story.
Good reminder to be a bit skeptical.
Absolutely. Got to be careful. Not everyone who says they can see the future actually can.
Okay, so ancient times, science, religion, even the prophecy biz. What about social media?
Oh, that's where things get really wild. Social media has made prophecy way more accessible.
Yeah,
Anyone can call themselves a prophet, get followers online.
it's like the Wild West out there.
It kind of is. And while that's good in some ways, it also brings challenges. False prophets, doomsday stuff, it spreads so fast.
It's a breeding ground for, like, conspiracy theories.
It can be, yeah. Like QAnon, that's a modern example. Huge following online, full of cryptic prophecies and predictions.
Yeah, but a lot of it's been debunked.
Right,
It
exactly.
just shows how people can get swept up in these online prophecies
Especially when it fits what they already believe.
or taps into their fear.
Oh, for sure. To navigate this whole thing, we need to understand why people believe in the first place.
And that's what we'll be exploring in part 2 of our deep dive.
We'll get into the psychology, what makes us susceptible to prophecy, from our need for patterns to our desire for control.
It's going to be a wild ride.
A fascinating journey into the human mind and how we deal with the unknown. Welcome back to our deep dive. Before we got sidetracked talking about social media, we were talking about why we believe in prophecy. Why are we so drawn to it?
It's crazy how our brains can just, like, believe things even when there's not much proof.
It really is. One thing to remember is our brains are always looking for patterns and trying to find meaning, even in random stuff.
Yeah.
It's like we're always searching for clues.
Like a puzzle.
Yeah, to figure out the universe's plan.
Right.
Like we're all mini Nostradamuses looking for those hidden messages, signs.
Exactly. Trying to see the future.
And that tendency, it's called epiphania. It's that human thing where we see connections and patterns even when they're not there
Okay.
at all.
Like when you keep seeing the same number everywhere and you think it's a sign.
Exactly. It's just our brains making sense of things. But sometimes that instinct to find patterns, it can lead us down the wrong path.
Okay, so that's epiphania. But what about confirmation bias? Doesn't that play a role in prophecy too?
Absolutely. Confirmation bias, it's that sneaky thing where we interpret information to fit what we already believe.
Yeah.
So if you're already into prophecy, you're going to notice things that seem to support it.
Yeah.
And forget the times when it was wrong.
It's like we're wearing blinders.
Exact. Blocking out anything that doesn't fit our story.
Right. And we all do it to some extent, right?
Yeah, it's just how humans process information.
But with prophecy, it can be dangerous
Oh, for sure.
because it creates this cycle. The more you believe, the more you see things confirming it, and then you believe even more.
It's like an echo chamber.
Exactly.
And it shows why it's so important to be critical of what we believe and actually look for things that challenge our assumptions.
So Riker talks about why we're so drawn to prophecy in the first place. He says it's partly because we want control, predictability in a world that's often chaotic and unpredictable.
That's a really important point. Prophecy gives us a sense of order, reassurance,
Yeah.
even if it's not real.
Yeah.
It can make us feel like we have some inside scoop on the future.
Yeah.
Which can be comforting, especially when things are tough.
It's like when you're going through a rough time
Yeah.
and you hold on to that hope that things will get better, even if it's based on a shaky prophecy.
Exactly. Prophecy can give us hope, purpose, and those can be powerful motivators.
It can also hold us back, right? If you think your destiny is set, why bother trying to change things?
That's the risk of relying too much on prophecy.
Yeah.
It can lead to complacency, this feeling that nothing matters.
So it's about finding that balance.
Right. Believing can be comforting, but it can also be disempowering if we let it control us.
Yeah. It's about taking ownership of our beliefs.
Exact. Not letting them control us. Critical thinking is key, especially now with so much information out there.
Oh, yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with predictions, prophecies.
All the time.
We have to figure out what's real and what's not.
That's where Riker's book is so helpful.
Right.
He gives us this framework to understand prophecy, its history, the science, its impact.
He reminds us that it's not just about predicting the future.
Yeah.
It's about finding meaning, guidance, connecting to something bigger.
But even with good intentions, prophecies can be harmful, right? Like those doomsday ones that freak everyone out, or those fake prophets who take advantage of people.
Sadly, that's true. History's full of examples of prophecies used for bad things.
Like those cult leaders who say the world's ending.
Right.
And then convince their followers to do crazy stuff to prepare.
It's scary how powerful belief is and how easily it can be twisted.
Like that story of Jim Jones in Jonestown. He convinced his followers to commit suicide
Oh, yeah.
because he said the world was ending.
That's a truly awful example of how prophecies can have terrible consequences.
It just shows how important it is to question things, even when someone claims to have prophetic powers.
Riker also talks about groupthink,
Yeah.
where people in a group just reinforce each other's beliefs, even if they don't make sense.
It's like if everyone jumped off a bridge.
Exactly. You wouldn't jump too, right?
Yeah. Why not?
Groupthink, it can turn into a mob mentality, where
Yeah.
people lose the ability to think for themselves.
And social media makes it even worse.
Oh, definitely. Those echo chambers online, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
You're just surrounded by information that confirms what you already think,
Right.
making you more susceptible to those false prophecies, conspiracy theories.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It can be, yeah. That's why it's so important to think critically
Mm-hmm.
and be aware of those psychological things that make us vulnerable.
So, what can we do to be more discerning? Riker has some suggestions, right?
He does. One big one is to get different perspectives. Don't just listen to people you agree with.
Right.
Talk to people who think differently. Be open to changing your mind.
Like iron sharpens iron.
Exact. Hearing different viewpoints helps us think better. Avoid that confirmation bias trap.
And if a prophecy sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Oh, yeah. Promises of wealth, happiness, guaranteed heaven. Red flags.
Yeah.
Be careful of anyone who says they have the only truth about the future.
Right, right.
Real prophecy, it's usually open to interpretation.
And check your sources.
Always.
Don't just believe something because you saw it on social media.
Right.
Do your research. Look for real evidence.
And remember, you get to choose what you believe.
Yeah.
Don't let fear or wanting certainty make you believe something that's not true.
It's about taking responsibility.
Exact for our beliefs and actions, even in a world that feels chaotic and unpredictable.
Riker really emphasizes that,
He
right?
does. Be discerning. Be critical thinker. Approach prophecy thoughtfully and carefully.
So even though prophecies can be tricky, even risky,
For sure.
they also teach us about ourselves,
They do.
our hopes, anxieties that search for meaning.
It's like holding up a mirror and
Right.
seeing ourselves, our deepest desires and fears.
Speaking of understanding ourselves, Riker has a whole chapter on the science behind it.
Yeah, the science of prophecy.
He goes into those psychological quirks that make us believe, even when the evidence is shaky.
It shows how we're not always as rational as we think. Our brains have these biases, these shortcuts.
So even if we think we're skeptical, level-headed, we can still fall for it,
Absolutely. We all have blind spots.
right?
The key is to know about them and learn how to avoid them.
Riker talks about pareidolia again, seeing patterns that aren't there.
Like the Virgin Mary in a grilled cheese sandwich or Jesus in a potato chip.
It's our brains trying to make sense of random stuff.
Yeah, sometimes our imaginations go a bit crazy.
And confirmation bias, remembering things that fit our beliefs.
If you're into astrology, you remember when your horoscope was right and forget when it was wrong.
And the Dunning-Kruger effect. People thinking they know more than they do
Like those people who think they can predict the stock market.
because they got lucky a few times.
Exactly. A couple of good guesses doesn't make you an expert.
Riker also talks about how altered brain states can make things feel prophetic.
Oh, yeah. He talks about brain damage, fevers, lack of sleep, even drugs.
It's wild how those can create hallucinations, make people think they're having vision.
It makes you wonder how many prophecies throughout history were just someone having a weird dream or being sick.
That's a good point. We'll never know.
Probably a lot more than we realize.
Riker also looks at the social and cultural stuff that influences belief.
Oh, yeah. Things like groupthink, charismatic leaders, societal norms.
It's like when everyone around you is talking about a certain prophecy,
Right.
and you start to believe it too,
Yeah.
even if you weren't sure at first,
It's natural to want to fit in with the people around us.
especially those we trust.
Exactly.
So it's not just our own mind, it's the social context too.
Prophecy is a social thing as much as it's psychological.
And now with social media, it spreads so fast,
It's crazy how quickly it can go viral.
reaching people all over the world in minutes.
It's a whole new world for prophecy. Exciting and scary at the same time.
Exciting because it connects people,
Yeah.
but scary because of all the
It's
misinformation.
a double-edged sword for sure.
Riker says we need new ways ways to navigate this. Ways that use critical thinking, skepticism, awareness of our biases.
It's a call to action for all of us.
Yeah.
To be careful about what we believe and to watch out for people who say they know the future for sure.
It's about taking control of our beliefs.
Exact. Not getting swept up in all the online prophecies and conspiracy theories.
And that's a really important message, especially now.
It is. It's about empowerment, taking charge of our own minds.
It's interesting, as we've been talking about prophecy, it's not just about the future. Riker also talks about how it affects us personally,
Yeah.
like our mental well-being.
It's true. Prophecy, it can be a good thing or a bad thing for our mental health.
Right.
On the one hand, it can give us comfort, hope, especially when we're struggling. That belief that things will get better, it can give us purpose.
But I can also see how it could make things worse, right? If the prophecy is negative.
Oh, absolutely. Like, think about those doomsday predictions.
Yeah.
They can cause panic, make people do irrational things out of fear.
Riker talked about that Heaven's Gate cult.
Oh, yeah. That was tragic.
They all committed suicide.
Because of a prophecy about a spaceship coming to take them away.
It's scary how much prophecy can affect people.
It really shows how important it is to think for ourselves and not just blindly believe prophecies.
Especially when they come from, questionable sources.
Exactly. And it goes back to what we were saying about how prophecy can be interpreted in different ways.
Yeah.
What one person sees as doom, another might see as hope.
Right. It all depends on your perspective.
That's why it's so important to be skeptical and to look for different interpretations.
Don't just focus on the scary stuff.
Exactly. There's always more than one way to see things.
Riker also mentioned how prophecy can become self-fulfilling.
Oh, interesting.
Like, if you believe something strongly enough, you might act in ways that make it come true.
That's fascinating. Our beliefs shaping our reality.
Yeah. He gave that example of a student who gets labeled as a slow learner.
Right.
If they believe it, they might start doing worse in school, even if they're actually smart.
It's amazing how powerful our beliefs can be.
Yeah, whether they're based on prophecy or not.
Definitely. They can really affect our lives.
So with all these potential problems, how do we deal with prophecy without getting too anxious or confused?
Well, Riker has some advice.
Okay.
He says to work on your critical thinking skills, be aware of your biases, and look for different points of view.
Like we were talking about before.
Exact. And he reminds us that prophecy isn't like a crystal ball.
Right.
It's not going to tell you exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's more like a tool to help you explore, reflect, find a meaning.
So it's not a set path, more like a starting point.
Exact. Use prophecy to learn and grow, but don't let it control you.
And be mindful of how it affects you mentally.
Right. If a prophecy is making you anxious, step back and question it.
Or look for a different interpretation.
Yeah. And remember, you don't have to go through this alone.
Right.
Talk to friends, family, a therapist. They can help you deal with the emotional side of prophecy.
It's good to remember that we're all in this together.
We are. We're all trying to figure things out, find our way.
And there are people who can help us.
Exactly. In the end, you decide how prophecy fits into your life.
Yeah.
You can embrace it, reject it, or find something in between.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah. Between curiosity and skepticism, hope and realism, faith and reason.
Well, listeners, that wraps up our deep dive into Conrad Riker's prophecy, a deep dive into history, science, and impact.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. We've covered so much.
If you want to learn more about this fascinating topic, you can find Riker's book on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.